Well, hello there, my lovely lads and lassies. Welcome to Eldritch Horror Streams. Tonight we're bringing you a double feature of friends helping friends out and suffering through. Now the first one hits me quite hard because I am also a carpenter. And this story is going to be about the stuff that carpenters didn't tell you. The story number 2 is going to bring it right up with the dark side of having roommates. So stick around and enjoy as we explore the depths of what's hidden within the dark. Our first givings. A renovation of a horror type by N.S. Lewis. I agreed to help a friend renovate and uncovered an unspeakable horror. Well, I couldn't sleep, so I might as well tell you what happened. In case you like hearing about fucked up stuff. I mean, you never know. A few months back, a buddy of mine closed on a big house right on the outskirts of town. A multi-million-dollar affair. Custom built in the 80s. We GP'd this house for Halloween one year, back when we were both kids and broke families. Now my friend is rich and buying it as a second home. I do carpentry, so he called me up to have a look before he pulled the trigger. I walked around inside and out, told him everything seemed to be in shipshape. I mean, not even a hint of mold or rot. The guts seemed to be nicely oiled. The old guy who lived there and croaked there had kept up with every little detail. What about the one room? Asked Evan. I knew what he was talking about without further elaboration. There are 4 bedrooms and 4 baths, not counting the finished basement. A kitchen, a living room, a study, laundry room, and a bunch of closets, etc., etc., etc. Everything you would expect to find in a house like that. All with the highest level of finishes. And then there was this one weird ass room. It was down at the end of the hall on the 2nd floor. It seemed like maybe it was intended to be another bedroom, but once you went up there, you saw that it was tiled in white from floor to wall and ceiling. So then, maybe you thought it was supposed to be a spa or something like that, but there's no fixtures, no lighting, no places for fixtures. There was a single electric outlet and a single small hole in one of the white tiles. Well, I don't know what the hell that's about, I admitted. Never saw anything quite like it. Yeah, it's bizarre. The guy's daughter said that there was just this machine in there with a tube going into the wall. They got rid of it before they listed the house, and I wondered what that was all about. I shrugged. I can hardly keep up with shit these days. They've got refrigerators that you can watch TV on now. Next, they'll have robots that sit submerged in the toilet and pop up to wipe your ass when you're done sitting. Who knows? Anyway, putting aside that crazy room, I mean, the place looks great. Literally nothing needs to be done, unless you want new paint, cabinets, and so forth. But honestly, everything looks very tastefully done. It's a real turnkey house, if you ask me. I agree, but that room just... I don't know. I'd want to do something with it. So put that on your radar, because I think I'm going to pull the trigger on this and start brainstorming on what we can do with it. The other theory came up with was to knock down a wall and open up one of the smaller bedrooms into a second master bedroom. You know, adding a few windows along the way since the room faces south. Working alone, I figured the project would take me a couple of months. I like those kind of projects where I could really settle in, I've not have to constantly go from job to job, packing up my tools every day, getting acquainted with a whole new job site, with a whole new set of headaches. Still, my enthusiasm died the first day on the job. There was just something goddamn creepy about that room. With all those clean, white tiles covering every square inch. It felt like something that you'd see in an insane asylum, instead of a house where people lived. I mean, my first order of business was to get rid of those tiles. I mean, it took a couple days to peel them off and haul them outside. Then the room started to feel more like a construction site than an unfathomable mystery. I had something I could work with. But breaking through the wall to the adjoining bedroom would happen near the end of the project, so we could keep dust from spreading around the house as much as possible. But well before that, I had to tear off the old drywall, which wasn't worth salvaging after stripping the tiles. I'd take it down to the framing, then cut new openings for the windows and get those installed. I'll never forget the day I started tearing off the drywall. For as long as I live, no matter how drunk I get, I will never forget. I started with the exterior wall where the windows would go up. But getting started was always fun. Don't get me wrong. You just take your hammer and you smash it widely into the wall. Then you start yanking. And that's what I did. Pulling off chunks of sheetrock and tossing them into the tarp in the middle of the room. I saw right away that the house was well insulated. Spray foam everywhere. That would make it a bit of a hassle, adding outlets and whatnot, but it would save my buddy a hell of a lot in heating and cooling bills. Not that he was in rough shape, mind you. I mean, financially, I guess I got a satisfaction from just seeing a tight, well-built house. I was right around the middle of the exterior wall, behind the drywall, where I first found an indication of what the room's previous purpose was. There was a small tube there, pressed against the insulation, running up towards the ceiling. It was a clear tube, but stained, dark inside. What the hell is that, I wondered. I'd never encountered anything quite like it. It looked like maybe someone had been running motor oil through it, or something like that. I don't know. I figured the best way to get answers was just keep tearing the room apart. Soon, I found a second tube. This one didn't have the brown colouring, but it did have a few droplets of a clear liquid that was beaded up along its length. I knew without a doubt that I was going to find something terrible. I didn't know how to explain it other than pure animal instinct. But I had to know what it was, so I ripped off another chunk of drywall. There. Less than a foot away from my face were 10 human toes, complete with long, gnarly yellow toenails. They were half buried in the insulation, like sort of poking out. I backed up and it was probably like, I think I said like, Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus fucking Christ. Without realizing it, I searched for it. I had my phone in hand. Like, call the police. But then I hesitated. Unspeakably stupid reason, I hesitated. I guess it was as simple as morbid curiosity. Like, if I didn't peel back the wall myself, then I might never know what's really back there, right? I mean, it was a human body, obviously. But whose? And what were those tubes? Like, if I handed it over to the cops, I'd be shut out. Well, they did their work. They would take off the rest of the wall. Maybe they wouldn't tell the public what was going back there for months, years, or ever. I don't know. But for whatever goddamn reason or non-reason, I had to know. So I wiggled another section of drywall loose. Gently now, mind you, trying to take as big a piece intact as I could. Got about half a sheet loose. It's about 4x4. Now, I knew a lot more, or maybe a lot less. I took off my respirator and I puked. It was a woman. I could figure that much. She was naked. I saw now where the tubes led. The stained one into her stomach, and the other one into her private areas. Jesus fucking Christ. One for piss and one for shit. Well, what? I had my phone in my hand again. Then I dropped it because I was shaking so bad. I saw that the tubes, there are beads of water still in one of them. Which means she's alive. Or was recently. Like, I forgot the phone and frantically tore away at the rest of the wall. Like, it came apart in a mess of dust and small chunk that got everywhere because I was in a frenzy. And finally I made it up to her head. She had another tube stuck in her mouth, leading up towards the roof. Like, her flesh was sagging off of her face, like it was sagging everywhere else, as if in a slow, desperate attempt to escape the world. But, like, her eyes were wide open and milky white. She's dead, I thought. And then she blinked. And that, friends, is when I called the police and they took the fuck over. If you're wondering who the fuck that woman was and why she was in the wall, join the club. I'll tell you the rest of what I know, or at least what I think. But whatever good that'll do you. First in nitty-gritty. I think the poor woman was kept behind the wall for a long, long time. The tubes to carry her waist away probably ran down and joined the main sewer line. The tube leading outside, I figured this by having a look around the house while the police were busy inside, hooked up to the gutter system. She drank only when it rained. My best guess is that she was fed through that machine that the previous owner's daughter had removed. It must have like ground up food and shot it through the tube going through the room and the wall or something like that. I haven't spoken with the daughter. I don't intend to, but she almost certainly didn't know what the hell it was that she had removed from the house. Maybe. And if I'm right, that means the woman on the wall hadn't had food in months, in a month. Unless by some chance an ant crawled down her throat. As for the man who'd owned the house before my friend bought it, I mean, he was just some guy. Well-off guy, a guy who owned several businesses around town. Always a part of this event, that event, Chamber of Commerce and all that. I mean, otherwise, a very respectable citizen, but inwardly, a fucking demon. I mean, assuming he was the one who put the woman in the wall, I don't even know that part of it. But if he did, then he would have had to hook up all this stuff himself. He would have had to at least put the drywall up, if not the tile. I mean, plus the woman was half encased in spray foam insulation, which isn't a usual DIY project. But I suppose if you're going to go evil and crazy enough to do something like that in the first place, a few days worth of manual labour is the price you're going to pay, even if you're rich. Anyway, he had to at least know about it, since, I mean, again, I'm assuming I'm right about the machine. Somebody had to feed the woman, and it was his house. I don't know. I have been drinking, my mind's starting to creep down all these alleyways, I mean, starting to. Fucking hell. I haven't stopped. It was a week ago and I found the woman. I mean, I guess I must have slept at some point since then. I don't remember it. And now you have to too. I guess the only thing I can say at this point is, if you're able to wake up each morning and not find yourself literally trapped inside of a wall of tubes coming in and out of you, then consider yourself lucky. I mean, that's the thing I'm telling myself anyways. But holy shite. Thanks for listening. We have story number 2 for the evening. My roommate has night terrors. I think they are real. By MeduKaaa. There's something living in my college dorm. My roommate, she has night terrors and she sees things at night that aren't really there. I mean, the intensity ranges, but sometimes she lets out screams or so and is genuinely freaked out that you would believe something is actually there. I mean, examples being one that she sees someone in our room, but a large black figure is approaching her. She sees my wall, playing a movie, etc. I mean, pretty basic stuff, but scary things to wake up to. Now I know what you're thinking, they're just night terrors, so why am I paranoid? Well, let me tell you. I'm beginning to think she's been right this entire time. Like, I mentioned some of her night terrors, but the majority of the night terrors has remained with some shadowy black figure. I mean, sometimes she says, rarely, the figures aren't alarming. But 90% of the time, she tells me she was absolutely terrified. Like, she can feel the bad energy and bad vibes coming from this figure. Like, there are 2 instances that have freaked me out in particular. And trust me, if I were to write all of them down, we would be here for a while. A lot of them are her pointing somewhere in the room and telling me there's something there. Her freaking out, and me turning on the flashlight from my phone and calming her down. Here are the 2 that scared me the most. So she woke up in the middle of the night. At this point, I was fast asleep. She screamed, "What the fuck is that?" And I woke up. I said, "What is it? There's nothing there." "Oh, what do you mean?" And she goes, "No, behind you. There's something behind you." I am freaking out because I can't see anything. It's pitch black, so my eyes aren't adjusted yet. I keep yelling, What is there?" She lets out this blood-curdling scream, as if she just witnessed a bloody fucking murder. It was so loud, it woke up our entire suite. I passed out from fear. Until she woke me up after she snapped out of it. Well, this is the incident that made me believe that she was right. Like, she claims she was awake for the first half, but I know for a fact she was awake for the second half. She randomly said, "What are you talking about?" I was awake at that time and I responded, I didn't say anything. She started freaking out. I turned the light on. She said she was talking to me and I kept telling her to look to the right corner of her bedroom, and eventually she saw a black cat. But she said she was talking to me and I was under the bed. I was under her bed. I was in my bed the entire time. Naturally, she freaked out. Like, I'm not super phased because this has happened multiple times before. Like, we had a conversation, mind you. She is completely awake now. But she turns towards the mirror on her dresser and continues talking to me, and then I respond, and she freaks out. What is wrong now? I asked her. We are talking, but you're a reflection. Your mouth wasn't moving. Chill. Want to know why? The majority of the times that she's seen the black figure has been near a mirror. Either the full body one or the one that's above the dresser. A few times it has been on my bed or in between our beds, but the majority of the time it's been near the mirrors. Like, we put a protection thing under her bed, but the flowers and plants have wilted since then. You know, they've been better. They were, but they're beginning to pick back up again. I mean, my roommate tells me that she's been in contact with ghosts since before, at her grandmother's house in particular. I used to get freaked out the first few times it happened, and then it became so regular I didn't anymore. But there's been instances where I get so freaked out that I can't sleep. Even from like minor ones. It's like I feel the energy that she's talking about. I'm pretty spiritually inclined. Like, I have really good intuition, like insanely good. I know when to be freaked out and when not to be. Even horror movies or these Reddit posts don't scare me. But those times I can sleep, I experience in my house too. Like, I don't have nightmares nor night terrors, but sometimes I feel a presence in my room and I cannot sleep because I'm freaked out. Like, I played with the Ouija board a few times 5 years ago, and that in itself was an experience on its own, a story for another time. But even in my house, I've heard random things crash, everything's normal, things move on their own, randomly, etc., etc. Like, one time even the garage door opened, triggering our alarm system when I was home alone. Never anything super scary or threatening. Like, even last night when I came home from college and it was like 4 a.m. and I heard a door shut right next to my room. I mean, the only doors that are next to my bedroom is the linen closet in the bathroom that no one else uses. I am an only child. The last few nights before I came home, I've heard noises in our dorm room. I mean, I've heard things move, random creaks, etc. Sometimes I think it's a room above us. Like, they tend to be super noisy. But sensing something is off, and then hearing these sounds is beginning to make me think that she might be right. Like, I even had a pair of flip-flops that was missing since the entire thing started, which I couldn't have left anywhere. They were in my shower shoes, the shower's inside of our suite, but I felt energy lingering, and like, there are times when I felt energy concentrated in a corner of the room. One time I felt it near the mirror. That's a different story. She's also woken up to random bruises before. I don't know where they come from, and some of them have been huge. Like, it's only happened 2 or 3 times this year, but still, I mean, you tend to notice things like that. Like, we only have a few weeks left, but now I can't tell if this thing just lives in the dorm, as one of us, you know, something we brought in, or maybe something that was attracted to our energies. I'm not really sure. I mean, I think it's safe. I mean, I don't feel in danger for the most part. Although sometimes I do get really freaked out by what I sense. I don't know. It's so conflicting. Part of me thinks it hasn't done anything to harm us yet, so we'll be safe. But like I said, I don't know. Like, my roommate knows I'm really good with my intuition. She's experienced it firsthand. Like, literally firsthand. But I haven't told her about the energy I sense or the noises I've heard at all. Like, she gets really paranoid. And the last thing I want to do is make this worse for her. I mean, maybe I should tell her. Maybe, I don't know if it'll help. I don't know, I guess we'll see what happens.